Greetings all, Ragnarok Prepper here. I was out taking a hike on my backyard on this beautiful afternoon, watching as we turn from summer to fall. It seems like it's happening pretty quickly this year. But as I was on my walk, I found a plant that I wanted to share with you. But before I do that, I want to mention that I am A, not a doctor, B, not a botanist. I am simply a man sharing knowledge with you for a time when we may not have access to the things that we need and may have to find them in nature. So let me bring the camera up here and I'll show you what I found. Okay, so here we are. I'm sure you can guess which plant I'm talking about, but I'm referring to the plant here, not the fern in the background. Does anybody know what this plant is? Whenever you're trying to make a plant identification, I would always recommend that you have several sources available to you. Don't try and go out into the field and guess. Bring along a couple books with you. Take the time to take a class at a local park or walk with an old timer through the woods. That wisdom is still here. It's not lost. We just have to look for it. And I would never want to take a chance of misidentifying something and suffering potentially deadly results for myself, for anyone else I was treating. Always take the time to do the proper research. And if you don't know that you're 100% correct, pass. Don't take that chance. Far too many people have done that, and they're not here to talk about it any longer. But I won't keep you in suspense anymore. The plant that you're looking at right now is called doll's eye. Now that's the name that I learned it by, but that's also one of its common names. It's also known as toadroot or white cohosh. But its scientific name, or most well-known name, not scientific, is white baneberry. It is a native plant, which means that it grows here in the United States. It always has. It didn't come from another country. No settlers brought it here. It was here and used way before we were. Now it is also a perennial, which means that every year it'll be back. And what's really interesting to me is that I have never found this plant in this location on my property before. I've only ever found it in one place, and that was about 200 yards up and over this hill, which tells me that some of our little friends, whether it be birds or mice or squirrel, brought it down here, which makes me happy because now I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plants down here. Now as you can see, the stem here really sticks out in the fall background. This red fleshy stalk, these white berries, and the black or dark purplish dot that makes it have the appearance of a doll's eye. You can see the plant here grows about 1 to 2 feet tall. The leaves here are actually in a leaflet. They're divided, and you can see the sharp teeth on the edges there. Not looking quite robust right now, obviously, as fall is here. But during the summer, from May till say June, is when this stalk here will be covered in white flowers. And then they'll fall off. In about August, the berries will start forming, and they'll last on the plant until, say, the middle of fall, October-ish, if they last that long. These berries are fed on by wildlife, specifically birds, grouse, turkey. Also, mice and moles will feed upon them. And actually, I'll show you this plant over here, which has already been predated. So, it seems like we had a little lucky find here. Finders keepers, right? I will collect some of this to have it on hand. Now, before I talk about what several Native American tribes used these plants for, I want to reiterate the fact that this plant is potentially toxic. All parts of this plant are toxic. They contain chemicals called glycosides, which will cause dizziness and vomiting. Large quantities of it will cause cardiac arrest and even respiratory paralysis. Even touching the plant itself will cause a dermatitis reaction in some people. Getting the juice from the stem or the leaves also has the potential to cause that dermatitis, which is a blistering of the skin similar to poison ivy. So, if I were you, if this was your first time, I would not touch the plant. I've touched it before, so I know that I'm not going to have a reaction simply from touching it. It's always better to be safe than sorry. Use a stick, wear gloves, have a knife blade, whatever it is that can keep you from getting that fluid onto your skin until you're sure. So, several Native American tribes use this plant medicinally. They would use small amounts, as I said, due to the toxic properties. Small amounts of tea made from the roots was said to relieve headaches. It could be gargled for, say, a sore throat or a cough. It could be drank in order to relieve birthing pains, for dealing with menstrual irregularities, colds, calming seizures, and even chronic constipation. Now, infusions of this product, of this plant, and I'm not talking about tea now, we're talking about an infusion. Two different things. This infusion was even said to stimulate milk production in birthing mothers, as well as bring people back from the brink of death. Sometimes this plant can be confused with something else that grows in the area called black cohosh. A lot of times you'll see contamination when you purchase this as a vitamin or as a supplement because the people collecting it mistook the black cohosh for doll's eye or white baneberry. There is also another plant called red baneberry that is very similar, and the only difference truly is that the berries are red instead of white with a black dot. Now, as I said, I was going to harvest one of these plants. So I'm going to harvest the one here to the right. So I have my little digging stick. I'm going to isolate the plant. You want to be careful here because I want to get the whole root, or at least as much of it as I can. Use your fingers and get it in there. Digging stick up underneath. There we go. I'm just going to roll the dirt off. And here we have the stem. Here we have our root. can see the root stems about the size of my hand. But another way that this plant spreads is not only through the berries, but you can divide the roots. So since I've already broken this root, what I'm going to do is just put this one back in here, cover it back over. Take our root and our stem, break off the dead part here. So I hope you enjoyed our little discovery that we made today on our hike. I hope that I was able to share with you some knowledge that one day will become useful to you. It will be knowledge that's there when it's necessary. And I think that's something that we're all pretty well sure of. There's going to be a time when you won't have the internet to look up that plant or this plant. There'll be a time when you won't have a store that you can go to get that medicine or this medicine. We need to start prepping skills. If you're not out here in the dirt, you're not doing it. Stacking up little books, things like that are necessary, but it's even more important that you get out here and get dirty. Get out here, find the plants, so that when you really need them, you know where they are. Thank you. And until next we meet, be well.